Like I said, we're going over everything last night in NBA. Like I said, 14 games, so many different games going on. Let's go a little further into the games going on. We also had the performance tonight. Let's go into that. CJ McCallum. Yes, CJ McCallum. It wasn't Damian Lillard that had a humongous night. It was CJ McCallum of Portland Trailblazers as they send the New Orleans Pelicans, a lot of people's favorites to make the playoffs, including mine, to a 112-94 defeat and by the hands of the Blazers. The Blazers are a team that a lot of people don't have too much talent, but McCallum, 37 points, 14 and 22 from the floor, 6 and 9 from the 3 point line. Also chimed in with 6 rebounds. Damian Lillard, 21 points, 12 assists, 4 turnovers. And they were scoring at a high rate. The Blazers started the game up 43-18 in the first quarter. The Pelicans fought back, got the game with about 7 or 8 in the last couple minutes before CJ McCallum, and Damian Lillard closed the game out. For the Pelicans, who are shorthanded, really this team doesn't have much because of injuries. Drew Holiday is on a minute restriction. Quincy Pondexter was unavailable. No Omar Ashik. They're playing a second ever back to back. Nate Robinson, they signed in the offseason, hasn't played much for some strange reason with Alvin Gentry. They got 25 points and 10 rebounds from Anthony Davis. He bounced back after a slow start. 21 points for Ryan Anderson. And Eric Gordon, he's starting to get his stroke back. 20 points for the second consecutive night. So the the Pelicans are a team that just needs health. I've said this in the article on FCPRadio.com. They just need to find health to go around with Anthony Davis. If they can get the health, then the Pelicans are a dangerous team. If not, this team could resemble a lot of the Minnesota Timberwolves teams that Kevin Garnett was going through his last couple years before he was traded to Boston, where you have one guy is just the entire franchise, and there's nothing else around him. Drew Holiday was an all-star. How you want to question he was an all-star is one thing, but he's an all-star. Eric Gordon was a 20-point a game scorer before injuries hit him. Ryan Anderson was actually one of the top three-point shooters and stretch fours in the NBA when he was in Orlando. And don't forget, this team is still missing Tyreke Evans. Evans is a versatile guy that can play three positions of the floor. It's a struggle, but I think the Pelicans can get it together. Like I said, it's 0-2 start, a new head coach. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment time. Speaking of adjustment of time, I have no idea what happened to the Memphis Grizzlies last night. You're at home, your home opener, and you come out in the first quarter and score 10 points. Not just 10 points, but 10 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers team that came off opening night meltdown, collapse, confusion in the game. The Cavs blow out the Grizzlies 106-76 in Memphis last night. Didn't get much from LeBron James, only 12 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, in 30 minutes, but since it was a blowout, he's had the back problems. He was able to sit a lot of the game. Richard Jefferson, 14 points off the bench. They got 12 from Dellavedova and 12 points from Jarrett Cunningham. So you played any one of those three games in fantasy, I'm pretty sure you probably won some money last night. I'm pretty sure, unless nobody had all three of them. But if you played them, you might have won some money last night. Kevin Love, 17 points, 13 rebounds, knocked out a couple three-pointers. J.R. Smith, Mo Williams, also a couple threes as well, too. The Grizzlies, led by Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol, both only had 12 points. The problem with the Grizzlies was 29 of 82 from the floor. They couldn't hit a shot. They couldn't buy a shot. Mike Conley struggled. Jeff Green struggled. Courtney Lee struggled. It was a lot of struggling going on for the Grizzlies. So they have to get it together. They will get it together. And it's, I guess, might have been the overnight jitters or the fact of Cleveland was just on a mission last night, especially defensively, to take out Gasol and take out Randolph and pretty much make Memphis do something they're not very good, which is shooting from the perimeter. Speaking of shooting from the perimeter, the Detroit Pistons are off to a 2-0 start. A team that I didn't really believe in. I said they were maybe a 10 or 11 best team in the East, is now 2-0. 92-87 over the Utah Jazz. Reggie Jackson, 19 points. Andre Drummond, his second consecutive double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. But the best number about Drummond was he was 8 of 11 from the line. 72%. I know you're thinking 72%. Okay, what's so special about it? Drummond's like a 40% free throw shooter. He's hitting free throws. Yeah, I think it was 3 or 5 the other night in Atlanta. If he's hitting free throws consistently, this is going to be a scary, scary team because Drummond's already an offensive machine as far as rebounding wise, blocking shots. He's good on the rim. If he's able to stay in games and not get in foul trouble and hit free throws, the Pistons are dangerous. Stanley Johnson struggled from the floor last night, but 11 points in 19 minutes. Another guy that's been very surprising for the Pistons is the guy that Stanley Johnson was supposed to be starting over, and also the guy that caused problems in Phoenix, Marcus Morris. 14 points and 6 rebounds for his consecutive, second consecutive again, 3 consecutives in one time. Maybe he's going to have a good game next game around. But his second game in a row where he was showing promise, hitting shots, playing effective minutes. If the Pistons could get that for him going forward, with Ilyasova's ability to stretch the defense with his 3-point shooting, and Caldwell Pope playing like he is now, Reggie Jackson, they're a dangerous team, especially if Brandon Jennings gets back, if they can figure out how to get Jennings molded in the system. For the Jazz, last night, an interesting starting lineup, but they got 26 points from Derek Favors, 6 rebounds as well too. Rudy Gobert, 6 points, 12 rebounds, blocked a few shots. But the real interesting part about this starting lineup was the Jazz brought Trey Burke and Alec Burks off the bench and went more with Rodney Hood and Raul Neto, the rookie from Spain. Now, I was expecting Burke to be in the starting lineup. I know Trey Burke is not exactly a pure point guard, and I like Burks off the bench because Burks can provide scoring and Hood's a better defender. But I'm not sure about Neto going forward. I'm hoping the Jazz can potentially make a move for a point guard. We know they're without Dante Exum for the entire season. Unless Burke can find some point guard skills, and think more pass than shoot, if Neto is the guy going forward, it could be a long year in Utah. He only had 3 assists on the game as well, too. In other games, the best West Coast game of the night definitely had to be on Sacramento. Clippers 111-104 winners over the Sacramento Kings. Chris Paul, 18 points, 11 assists, a couple huge plays down the stretch, including an alley-oop to DeAndre Jordan. Blake Griffin, 33 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, was all over the floor. And to see the Clippers start Lance Stevenson at small forward was an interesting starting five. They had Lance Stevenson guarding Rudy Gay as pretty much trying to be the defensive stopper on the floor. And one of the key things for me when I saw the Clippers, especially on paper when the season started, was how are you going to be able to put Stevenson, Crawford, and Josh Smith all on the floor together when all these guys need the ball and they're all kind of all different personalities. So Doc decided to start Stevenson at small forward, keep Redick in the lineup, and have Crawford come off the bench as the two with Austin Rivers and Paul Pierce with Josh Smith in the rotation as well too, and Wesley Johnson. So with that being said, Pierce got 24 minutes, Crawford had 21. They both were effective. Pierce had 12 points on 4 of 8 shooting. Crawford was his typical Jamal Crawford self, 5 of 9 from the floor, 11 points. It allowed Austin Rivers to be a playmaker. I want to see if this lineup is going to go this way going forward. I'm not sure if Lance Stevenson is going to be the 3 going forward. He only played 19 minutes. Their main guys did do the heavy lifting. Blake Griffin, 38 minutes. Chris Paul, 36 minutes. DeAndre Jordan was in foul trouble, but he played 27, and JJ Redick played 30. For the Kings, it was Boogie. Boogie, Boogie, Boogie everywhere. 32 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists. And the one thing about Boogie Cousins before he fouls out is he did have 8 turnovers. But on a positive note, he hit 4 or 5 from the 3-point line. I don't know if it's positive. The fact that he hit the threes is great. Now, if he starts relying on his 3-point shot and it starts going haywire, but if he's hitting 3-pointers as already being the best low post player other than Al Jefferson in the NBA, this can make the very things very interesting out in Sacramento. Now, another thing to watch going forward is the fact of Rajon Rondo and Darren Collison. Rondo's debut, 25 minutes, 4 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. And Collison, let's just be straight up with you, outplayed him. 13 points, 6 assists off the bench in 30 minutes. Maybe they might start using Rondo and Collison together because Ben McLemore still hasn't gotten it together in his first game. And it seemed like George Karl was playing a lot of Marco Bellinelli, the veteran that came over from San Antonio. 9 points, knocked out a couple 3 pointers. The shot wasn't going as good as it normally is, but it seemed like Karl was wanting to play Bellinelli more than McLemore. We didn't see much of Willie Cauley Stein. But Kufos, 10 points off in the starting role, 7 rebounds. Hopefully, we'll see more of Cauley Stein going forward because he's going to help out with the defense and the shot blocking. So I want to see how Karl's going to be able to implement him in the offense, especially since he's not much of an offensive threat, more of a Tyson Chandler type player. And I guess it's the rotations that you're going to learn, and it's the rookie growing pains. Speaking of rookie growing pains, there was no growing pains in Houston last night because Ty Lawson was going against his former team and saw the point guard of the future in Denver just have a tremendous night. You know, yes, Emmanuel Mudiay did have 11 turnovers. Yes, he almost had a triple double last night, but 17 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, and an impressive rookie performance in his first game. You got to give the kid credit. 23 points from Dylan Nogari. Kenneth Faried looked like the manimal. 18 points, 9 rebounds, a whole bunch of hustle plays. They got 11 points from Barton and 10 points from Jameer Nelson. So the Nuggets scoring was balanced from starters to bench players. But Mudiay hit 3 3-pointers, which was a big problem and a big concern when he was drafted that he could not hit the outside shot. And he actually hit a couple of them. You know, he's got to calm the turnovers down. 11. I think that was just maybe a lot of nerves. And the Rockets play a flying style of defense that just puts a lot of pressure on them. When you have guys like Pat Beverly and Corey Brewer, who are guys who are very good defenders, especially on ball defenders, it's going to be kind of a rough night, especially in your first game. But the Rockets, you can tell they missed Dwight Howard. Howard was out due to suspensions because of the technical fouls in the playoffs. Clint Capella was in his place last night, 9.7 rebounds, 24 minutes. But the real issue last night was the Rockets' main fuel of James Harden, 6 of 21 from the floor. Ariza was 2 for 10. We talked Ty Lawson, 3 of 10. Corey Brewer, 2 of 12. Pat Beverly, 3 of 9. That was the problem. Guys were not hitting shots. The Rockets were 8 to 35 from the 3-point line. Harden missed 10 of them last night. This is the reason why the Rockets didn't win because James Harden wasn't himself. People can say Khloe Kardashian thing, but it was just a bad night from Harden. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, but the efficiency, especially shooting the ball, wasn't there. He got to the line, but his shot wasn't falling. And if you have nights like that, you're going to need guys like Ariza, you're going to need Lawson, you're going to need Brewer, you're going to need Beverly, those guys to step up and help out the scoring because James can't do it by himself. But Terrence Jones was nice, 15 points. And remember, they're going to get Dwight Howard back Friday for their big game against the Golden State Warriors. And Giannis Moniunas hopefully will be back very soon into that lineup because the Rockets need all the depth they can get. And once they get their front court depth back, it's going to make things easier, especially for Harden, and not have to worry about the scoring so much. But he'll be back. Like I said, Dwight Howard will be back, and Moniunas doesn't have an ETA. So that's a little bit of an issue for the Rockets going forward. But like I said, the Nuggets, you can't take away from the Nuggets. They won their first game, and there's some excitement out in Denver. Just take it for what it is right now. And speaking of excitement, especially from rookies, Justice Winslow basically was the spark plug off the bench for the Miami Heat last night in their victory over the Charlotte Hornets, 104-94. I'll get to Justice Winslow in a minute, but it was good to see Chris Bosh. Speaking of storylines, Chris Bosh, a guy who was almost his career almost ended because of a blood clot, was played his first game, a double-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds. He was the same Chris Bosh that we're used to seeing in Toronto. And that is a scary Chris Bosh for the Eastern Conference because Bosh goes back to his natural four with Hassan Whiteside at the five. Wade didn't have to do too much heavy lifting, 20 points in 29 minutes, 16 shots taken. So he was pretty efficient, in his time on the floor. I want to see Gordon Dragic be a little bit more aggressive, but he'd have to be because Gerald Green was aggressive enough off the bench. 30 minutes, but he knocked down